Hello everyone. I would like to talk about today some very interesting things. And it's actually about how people receive communication. That is the title of this talk. And this talk has been inspired by not just me observing all the communication that I've had, but also if every communication that I've done individually in my life was all observed at the same time, what would my whole life mean? What would my life expression mean? And so you see, the being who is seeking a certain meaning, a sense of happiness in a changing system, is one who's just been given a little bit of stability for a temporal amount to think that it's eternal. You see, there are aspects of you that are changing. This change is kept in a way where we cannot rationalize it. So rationality only serves the agreement between people, which is the agreement between their communication, which is how they are receiving what it is that they're seeing. So you see, you need to be aware, because there at times we don't know what is going to happen, but we know what's happening now, and through this comfort we walk, right? But through the comfort of the now, we walk into what will be. However, as you go in, you see that sometimes taking steps, you get to see what's in front of you. Similar to how you're walking the park, you're seeing where the road leads. And so similarly, in how you're communicating and how your existence is diving into its self-absorption and self-awareness, you are finding that communication, or sometimes the things people said to you, are empty. And the reason this happens is because your sensitivity to what is real in existence has changed. It's like suddenly realizing the tree has roots. So when you go back to your roots, you see that your communication has been made meaningful through different moments in your life based on your awareness to it that then seemed new. But new is also a concept which can also limit man in the sense that it kind of gives a shape to the future, but the future is not held based on its chronological aspect. It's held by the fact that there is no future but simultaneous presence of all conception. When I say simultaneous presence of all conception, it's like that moment where we're saying, okay, 8 billion people are having 8 billion realities. You know? And so the interaction between the internal and external is a vast phenomenon. It's like as if we're totally ignoring the fact of how you're receiving the world. And so the mind of man has chaotic aspects and order aspects, and they don't need to be aspects. They're simply how you are. And as you are, you realize, imagine you doing the thing, then getting the language. You will never be guilty. It's only when language and terminology and ideology comes first that the act gets a value which you feel is not complete. Sometimes authenticity or that reception of clear communication is to see that as your identity gets transparent by looking how integrative things are in life, it will see itself part of a greater design. It's as if the finger is finding the palm finding the arm, and the arm finding the body. And so the body of man finding the cosmos. It's very important, because we must see that consciousness cannot be limited. But what can be limited is an idea. An idea or a meme are things, that are the core. I mean, if you never knew the word archetype and you just looked at things, you would see everything is leading back to certain imagery, which based on how much a human being is confronted, he's communicating that experience. For example, right now, I am communicating experiences I've had in what is more of an internal experience. But there is no internal outside after some point of awareness, but still, you call it an internal experience. It's because your intelligence is living with the story that it finds to be one body's movement. There are different dynamics. There are dynamics where there are different characters in the story, and there's a dynamic which is the character's experience with the storyteller. And so the storyteller at first suggests that there's a creator, but not a creator that is not here. What that means is when you look at the concept of creation, you exist now. Your creation is now. And so as you are now, what is the creator is everything that you're aware of. So as if your eyes opening in the morning were as much of a creator as perhaps the sun's timeless spark. You will see reality will shift in realness based on your involvement and self-awareness, based on what is meaningful for you, and realizing that that meaning usually comes from an individual aspect that you need to confront, so you're not constantly trying to be a certain individual. The fact that mankind has become a bit arrogant in thinking that he needs to, the concept of try points a percentage of incapability. That means in reality, part of the being still believes that there might not be survival. And so in wars long ago, of course, this was the reality. What I mean is that many people talk about truth without realizing just the fact that we've had human beings and the human experience through different histories. For example, think of how many people are holding the spoon right now when eating, or holding the fork. It's very important to see where the paths lead. And if you really are in a dynamic where you have to constantly choose the path less taken by or the path most taken by. For me, everything is a novel experience because my eyes are looking at it anew. And sometimes you think it's new. It's new to the ideology that thinks it's one-dimensional. There are more dimensions in the sense that once we have an ability to acknowledge everything as the moment is acknowledging everything. Your intelligence must be something which is enhancing your life. And at first, the dilemma appears is that you don't know what enhancement is. You don't know what will enhance you. Because if you knew, you'd already do it, right? So because we don't know what enhancement is, you will see that problem that many had, in which the person who went to the guru, who was of a different dimension of experience than the person who didn't have that dimension of experience, suddenly saw that you can't ask questions. You have to walk your walk, and as that walk dissolves into your own greater experience, you will see you were always heading there. It's that moment, that person who won the lottery, it was as if he was always meant to win the lottery. It's as if there were many prophecies written, about him winning the lottery. But we must see that a prophecy is simply an awareness to a new thing which is being related to a past thing that's said. So chronology is what is killing or dulling down language. The fact that our space and time is segmented makes language and sound an incapable technology. What that means is that we must have such existential sensitivity that when a being speaks, you feel their whole being, their presence through a single voice. The cause and effect relationship, the lag in your reality shifts. That's one thing I've noticed. And what that means is that it's not just that numbers are aligning and you're driving and just license plates are coming with numbers aligned. You are flowing in life in a direction where you're more clearly understanding where your excitement is leading. Your excitement is not a station where you should wait for the train. I mean, of course it's exciting to wait for a train, but it's more exciting to be, let's say, the person riding it, So do not expect ideologies to carry you too much. Do not expect communication to always be received in the way you like. You're one human being. As you wake up and go throughout this life, you are applying yourself. Sometimes in applying yourself, it's not compatible with others. Sometimes it is, Those that it's compatible with your communication, how you're applying yourself, is actually those people which you have received well from. It's as if you like that person, so you really listen to them, Mankind is at a problem where our kids think that, not just our kids, but the youth thinks that to be genuine is something you got to do. To be yourself, to be confident is something that you should do something about. You should move things. Well, let me tell you, that moment where you're on stage, and you can't move and everyone's waiting for you to give that speech, are you still looking for external inspiration? Or must you close your eyes and open them as if you have just connected worlds? A great speaker speaks to the understanding of man. I am never speaking to an audience that is too shaped to see itself right here. I am speaking to the man who understands that he is standing under something when he looks at man. When you think that you are only an object, where are your ideas? And so if it is, it would be your problem. It would be one of the most disservices if you as a human being do not transcend yourself to the highest peak. So automatically, the fact that there's multidimensionality introduced closes all the arguments why it shouldn't be there, because man needs to evolve. Because transcendence must not be a limitation of imagination that is forced as science. Science is beautiful, but not in the way it's being taught. The way it's being taught at a very young age. It's being taught at a point before people are aware what they are. And so they are clouded. We are clouded by media, we're clouded by TV. And so this is the point where you as a human being must see where your hunger, where your thrive in life, where your drive is taking you. Because there was a point I did not know because I did not look. And not at others, but at myself. And it's very important to look at yourself. Because you could be talking to perhaps one of the most important people in your life for the first time, and you have food on your face. So it's very important to wash your face. And how do you wash for your face? Well, let's say like this. If we were to wash the mind, like for example, how you wash your face in the morning, I will tell you what that would be equivalent to is that the mind is kept based on noise and movement. What that means is that when you're sleeping, unless I shout, you're not going to wake up, for example. You know? In that scenario. So it's very important to see that your mind cleanses itself, washes itself, aligns your being, just like how the rhythm of your heart continues. It will adjust you with a sense of being through silence and stillness. You will find yourself taking not coffee breaks, but breaks of silence and stillness. It's as if the day has been so hectic that you're like, I need to be aware of all these things I'm receiving, all these changes. So you go and sit down, and you know, at first, I would recommend doing it in silence, solitude, trying to figure it out for yourself at first. You need to play with the concept of meditation until it's practical for you, until it's useful for you. So what that means is go study it yourself, and what I will suggest is that the most immediate things that will help wash your mind is silence and stillness again. So you need to see that if you're confused, it's because of sound you're confused. It's because of the form that sound implies that you're confused. It's because of your definitions that there's confusion. But where do the undefined gracefully walk? Where does the observer within you become aware of all that is? And you will see that it is always now. And so how you receive communication suggests your whole meaning. What that means is that, check this out. So what Mr. Within noticed is that, for example, right now I'm in a park and I'm looking at a tree, yeah? So I'm looking at this tree, and when I touch this tree, it's of a physical experience for me. I can feel the stick, I can feel the branch, I could feel just how my hand feels, the different temperatures, how the air is around my hand, you know. And as I do this, you simply see that form is there to inspire activity that is on subtler levels what we consider to be thought. So thought is only made aware of because we are self-aware. If man was not self-aware, he'd be just like animals. He'd just be flowing. So the difference, so when the ape stood up, it didn't just stood up. Its awareness to what is mind, to its transcendental quality, just became very deep. It became very absolute. It's as if whatever pushed the ape or inspired the ape to stand up did it with an intensity of coordination that knew of a greater path in the future. So we might right now freak out, but you really don't need to. The existential intelligence is moving towards a place where it knows. What that means is that you might think an apocalypse is coming for your mind that is interpreting yourself as a character in the story when you're the storyteller, but you will see that it's as if this life, just like that person walking in the park, could see in front of itself and walk always gracefully. It's only in thinking as if there's a sense of past, present, future that we become ignorant of there only being the present. You must see it like a triangle, like an inverted triangle, where the present is the first point at the bottom, you know? And so as the two lines extend outward, you see man going into a sense of segmentation, for example, where it's all one line. All these dots have become one line. So what that means is how mankind right now will in a way reveal the next greatest treasures in consciousness is to see that he must let go of the ideology that is not satisfactory, because he knows that it's as if like you want to buy something from the store but it's closed. Regardless of how much I have chosen, you know, some people say renounce desire. Others jump into it consciously. A lot of people jump into their desires indirectly. So you think you like it because it's the activity that's pleasant in the moment. But if you jump into your desire, you see that, oh man, why am I choosing to go inside a cave? You see, many people who make decisions which they think it's been wrong decisions, it's because it has made them lonely. It has disconnected them. It's as if everyone was going at the same speed. Suddenly you fell a step behind. Oh my God, suddenly you fell so many steps behind. So this is what happened to me. Not in the sense of an external way, but in the sense that how I was perceiving my own function in reality seemed to be incomplete. And when a human being begins playing with the idea of incompletion, guess what? You associate it with yourself. We as beings look outside and suddenly take what's outside and make it inside. And the inside is already working, which is projecting an outside. So it's as if our external reality is giving us a sense of outside, and our internal reality is giving us a sense of everything's within one another, you know. But the reason there's an importance in the concept of within is because if you go outside, if you were to right now stand somewhere in the world and just walk endlessly, you are able to walk everywhere in this life. You see? So this whole life is not about running and walking, because you can just go everywhere. It's as if it's like a field, right? But it's more about being aware of how high the walls of the labyrinth are, and to not create an illusion that limits communication to be fruitful. What that means is, how dare people tell you that you are individual without you having an ability to, just as how you have accepted your individuality, to see yourself collectively. It is arrogant that we still are believing in things. A species doesn't believe. A species transcends. It evolves. It breaks its beliefs. And so how are we still believing the same things? And how is it that we have not tuned in to the core of our affinity and seeing that perhaps even those beliefs are not just a belief, it's our direct experience. Something in us is telling us you have lived through that being, and that is why you're saying I'm going to hold this idea like a flag. But the flag is never you. You must realize that association and disassociation have a totally different expression once you are still and observing it as the observer. And the observer is not the thinker. The observer is actually nothing. The observer is just presence. It's the moment. It's existence, aware of how thoughts are present. And when I say how thoughts are present, Mr. Within likes to use this imagery. Think of it as if you're standing in some nature trail and you're just hearing a river. The river is making sounds. It's as if the river is making sounds. But does that mean you're thinking about it? You must see that man, because he has chosen a world of shape, because his plane of dimension is a world of shape, his relationship with it is a box-like relationship. But guys, it's not just one box. It is so many boxes that an awareness to just one line of boxes, let's say like 4 boxes, is a totally different awareness than 3 boxes. And so what I mean by this is that we are multidimensional in the sense that we are intertwined, not to anything that is individual, but as a collective knowing. We are the whole field, regardless of the plants, regardless of the seeds, the different seeds planted, you know, and the different trees on the field has the intelligence of all of it, you know. You must play with your dimensions of space and time, and the minute you do, many of your belief structures will fade. What that means is, Terence McKenna is a very, very gifted speaker. However, in one of his talks, he was saying how, for example, what many people are interested in nowadays, for example, such as psychedelics and mushrooms and substances, or an external reason to change the internal, you will see that it still has a bit of desperation into how you are seeking an external thing. So what I mean by that Terence McKenna did reveal very, I guess, treasurable wisdom on reality. But the solution he provided, for example, mushrooms, is one where it doesn't matter what activity it is. It doesn't matter if you're experiencing life and trying to figure out from one scale of dimension to another. It's all about sensitivity to your being as consciousness, which is an unspeakable thing. It's not even a thing, it's just unspeakable. It's unspeakable. Study your presence and you will see that the way you thought you had to study your whole life was meaningless, because you are here to learn for you. You can learn from anything. You don't have to just read books, you can read the whole cosmos. You can look at a bench and just discover everything about how the designer's life was there. The person who designed the bench, you know, how his life was. You know? You can play with your reality to then discover an absolute reality which your trust will give you greater ability. So what that means is, if you, for example, are interested in these concepts that are, let's say, multidimensional, for example, you're not just this physical body, you're also this greater essence, right? It's very important for you to see that there are some people who will be interested in this and will be like, oh, there's something there. Yeah, I know this. There's more than this, but we have no way of proving it. And you will then see that why is there a need for proof? Aside from you looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, okay, I'm seeing myself. You are always seeing yourself in ideas, in language, in everything. That is the human intelligence. You're given an individual human form. You're aware of the first box, which is, for example, your body. You're aware of other boxes. You're moving around. Games like Minecraft are getting inspired to be made. And you suddenly see that you have forgotten about the fact that this spiral of time that you accepted and your experiences went through was not the actuality, but was your creation. So what I mean by that is that, let's say, there's a quote in I believe it's a Zen quote, and they say you cannot step in the same river twice. Or something in those lines. And what it means is that every moment is a new moment of your whole awareness to what is whole. Individuation is your technology. It is you segmenting space and time to make it into a shape you work with. Science is a technology that it's as if we were back in the day, not everyone would understand it, because it requires a certain understanding and a certain acceptance of how fixed reality is. So those people who were trying to fix their understanding of reality, unfortunately sometimes made it too fixed, and they realized, okay, I've been spending years and years writing theories and trying to understand this, but wait a minute. Maybe perhaps my wife, for example, who was home, was a better observance than just the simple page, for example. So what I mean by that, guys, is that human communication is always more valuable than the segmented creations of man which are trying to explain him. Science is valuable, but it's a tool, and there are many other tools in this reality. There are tools of devotion, where if you were just as a human being, you decided to love everything, I mean, some people hate everything already, which, they say it even. They say, I hate this, I hate you, or whatever, But if you see suddenly, if you just stop and in a new moment begin loving everything till the day you die, you will never die. You will immediately tap into and be aligned, and in a very compassionate way, your sincerest aspects will come up to you. So what that means is, let's say it like this. When I was younger, I noticed that my condition and my reality was based on my communication. So how I communicated with my environment communicated with me. But sometimes I didn't communicate to my environment, and then it treated me differently, So I realized that no. I am still communicating with everything. Even you who are listening, there is an existential communication simply because we exist. So on that platform where existence was first created, we are the same. But right now we're individualities that are individualizing themselves even more because they're fascinated by the infinity of spectrum. You will see that in reality, you exist. Then your interpretation also exists, which is what you're aware of right now. Now, as you're aware of what this means to you, you will see that let's say like this, the range that you're keeping something real for you is kept in an abstract way. So what that means is, it's as if like the observer is very linearly and very structurally keeping us here, but what is keeping the observer is always of a chaotic nature beyond man's understanding. And so you need to get in touch with nature. You need to get in touch with life. You need to get in touch with existence. This isn't being said too much. What that means is that if I suddenly found myself at a desk and my whole life was just dedicated into trying to improve man's technologies, I would stop creating physical technologies when the users of technology are behind. It's as if Elon Musk is a great visionary, but he has forgotten about the minds of man who are the users of technology. And so I don't want to actually say he has forgotten, I don't even know him, but the Elon Musk version that is in my head. Hopefully this doesn't give a headache. Now guys, it's very important for us to see that your communication suggests your reality, but also suggests it in a multidimensional platform where some parts of it you're understanding, some parts you're not. That is a healthy system. You don't want complete understanding because then you wouldn't be here, and you don't want incomplete understanding because then you also wouldn't be here. You'd be trapped in a world where an animal is trying to bite its own hand and it's realizing it can always stand, So it's very important to kind of see that we don't want to look back. We want to look forward. And that forward does not mean a movement forward in senses of into the future. It doesn't mean this sense of past, present, future. It means our moving forward is just as I have a bubble of awareness, the expansion of this bubble of awareness to all that I can be aware of as a being. And so the peak of the search for the essence of man is one where there have been different mountains with different elevations. So when I looked at different teachings, different ideas of others, I noticed it's as if every person gave their truth based on what was real for them. And what is real for you is like a mountain, you know? It's as if like you have lived your whole life, and at the end of it, if you gave that advice on your deathbed, it would be a mountain of wisdom. It's as if you have lived, and now this is the thing you're saying at the end, in which you move into a new beginning. It's very crucial to see that sometimes even the passage of human consciousness into different senses of its own conception, for example, what happens after death, is not something that anyone can ever have an answer to, because it's more awareness to your multidimensional self. It's as if you are working with a collective knowing. That's why you are always judging yourself. That person who pushed someone forgot that in his mind he would always be pushing himself, as if, why did I push that person? And you need to see that ideology is just one aspect of observing this whole thing. If you were to observe the totality of experience, you will be immersed in silence. You would go into a silence of existence where you would see it's as if you had never spoken. So there was an experience of my own being, the silence of my being, that suddenly it's as if that moment when I just got that sense of revelation for myself, I could not exist. It's as if the sound in my reality stopped. Do you know what that means? That means if everything I've been seeing and basing meaning has just been one way of speaking, has just been someone speaking, suddenly that person stopped. It's as if I recognize the intensity of what I was keeping as a referential reality for myself was ignorantly segmented and then assumed to be known. We don't know anything because the intelligence is of a greater dimensionality. So our trust is our only significant action. So mankind must learn to trust his environment. And as he does, waves will happen. It's as if all these drops that have been standing beside each other on the bus stop suddenly merge and a stream of movement happens. And what that means is this movement takes our focus as not... it takes our focus as people who want to make a better world to our children immediately. So we will cleanse, we will make the safest and the most clearest life for children, in the sense that we are giving them clarity. And it's very important because our children is like, it's like that next decision you're making. You know, it's like we are an art, if you're alive, you will see that your contribution as a human being is like you are one part of you are one brush of this painter. You know, it's as if the painter is first playing you as you exist, and then when you're about to end and you're about to leave, you see all your children. You're seeing all these children of all these children, you know, suddenly growing, you know. And it's as if the minute life takes your last brush stroke, where your breath is moving into new lungs, you will see that the Creator is continuing. Simply as how we as beings have an ability to confront a situation in a new moment, so does the whole cosmos, including the planet, have an ability to, in an instant, be that footstep that just made the earth crack. My friends, this is life. You people are just one aspect of your life. What is valuable for you is understanding, and if you want to move beyond understanding, self-understanding. So if you observe yourself and you communicate from a knowing of first looking at your information then looking at others, you will not be bothered by anything. It's as if that moment when someone said something negative to you, the reason it angered you is because you did not hear yourself in the back saying, no, I'm greater than this. I recognize if man chooses to act and to be an individual response, he will always feel his greatness is not there. So you will see, for example, certain beings such as, for example, Martin Luther King, or let's take Alan Watts and Terence McKenna. These are people who recognize that the next stages of their learning was through engagement with human beings, which are our brothers in energy and existence. How insane is it that I can be here and have an experience of all of reality, and you can be there and have an experience of all of reality, and we can post this on Facebook or some kind of social platform that we believe to be making us social, you know? Clarity, guys, is important. Obtain it quickly. And when I say obtain it, become self-aware. Stop running for things. Stop trying things. Try to see what stillness and silence has to say about all your problems, and you see they're always smiling in a serenity that was untouched. You want an untouched happiness, not a happiness that has been gotten from touch, because the touch of man continues in an infinite spectrum, and also you will find yourself wanting something else. True satisfaction is when that word never needed to exist, and you were as you are. Communication is the greatest contribution of man to this existence, and the quality of your communication suggests the quality of your life and how your duality is real for you. But know that any being that is observing separation is perhaps smiling through the unity of the observer. And so it's very important for you to really see the beauty that is the geometry of your breath, the beauty that is the greatest voice and the only voice, the beauty that is not an individual to fear a greater individuation, but is an individual who knows his collective. The sun is not only shining, so is everything that exists. Because once you look at every star that is gazing at you, you are gazing at it. And so in such lights, all is blended, and as you dissolve into the beacon that you are, self-remembrance will give you an expression that is no longer thought of, but is always done. Your life's work is you being aware of living. And that is more important. That is more important than trying to make $1 billion. It's you being aware of what life is here, you know? Be aware of the life that you are. And your communication will never be flawed. Much blessing.